So let's start the recording now. Okay. All right.
I think Donna's our only new person. Donna L, right? Donna, you
Uh,
haven't been with us before, have you?
Yes, once.
Oh, once. Okay. I didn't remember. So what we're doing is just going around and, like Billy said, say your name, where you're from, and one word that comes to mind about the moon card. Billy, do you want to start? Excuse me.
well, yeah, one of the reasons I like doing these groups is I always learn so much. And one of the things I learned about the moon card from the book that we've been using for these groups, the Tarot and the Journey of the Hero, is that it's about the return of the hero. So I would say it's about the word or phrase that I think of for the moon is what he labels it here in the book, dangerous return. It's that ability to find our way back into the waking world. So dangerous return.
Am I next?
Let me just say, I'm Patty,
Oh,
and I'm in Boulder, and I'm excited to be here. And thank y'all for coming. This is so amazing. These groups and the moon to me, because I'm Cancer. I'm a moon sign. I'm all about the moon. Um, Mystery, and that's why when Billy and I were coming up with the title, I just feel like mystery. The mystery is.
Yeah.
Now, Donna.
okay.
Donna Remmer.
From Boulder, Colorado, and have known Patty and so many of the rest of you. Billy's retreats were regular things for me for a lot of years, and I always loved them. And the word that I'd like to associate with moon is feminine.
Ooh, nice.
Thanks, Donna. Catherine.
Hi, Fort Collins here. It's hard for me to think of the moon as a tarot card. I always think of it as an astrological point. It's one of the bodies in astrology. And so my word is cycles of emotions.
Okay. Becky.
Cycles of emotions. That's good.
I'm from Tryon, North Carolina, which is about 60 miles due south of Asheville. I think when I think of the moon, I think of the artistic muse, the little intuition. Well, I'll stop at one word, even though that was two.
Artistic muse. Yeah.
Oh, I said many more than two words. You're fine. Thanks.
Christina Barcelone.
Hi. So, I'm from Mexico originally, but I live in Boulder, and I lived in Europe almost more than half of my life. So I'm also French. So for me, the moon, the thing is really romanticism, love, and being romantic. But there's another word that I like, is karma. Apparently, it also means ending things and new beginnings. So sort of karma at work.
Wow, that's good. Thanks.
Pat McNeil. Hi, Pat.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pat McNeil in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And my word, so many people have said others, and I really agree strongly. But I thought I'd go with tides,
That's good.
tiding, raving.
Right.
Beautiful.
Living at the beach. That's appropriate. Your name is correct today. You're not Paul today.
Yes, learn how to change it.
Christine Arnott.
Hi, all. Christine here. Originally from Virginia, but I kind of bounced around. I've been living in Fort Collins for the last few years, and I'm with Catherine. I have a hard time thinking of the moon as a tarot card. I think of it more in terms of astrology and in terms of the lunar cycles, like all of you. But I think regarding the tarot card, I just think of the hidden.
Nice.
Hidden.
Yeah, that's very good.
Okay, thanks. Christine Ruth, the other Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine, and I'm here in Niwot, which is just a little north of Boulder in Colorado. And I know nothing about the moon card, but I looked it up before I came to this, and I loved the image of embracing illusion or fantasy. I as a 7, I do a lot of on the Enneagram. I do a lot of embracing illusion and fantasy, but I like to live there sometimes.
Thanks, Christine.
That's great.
And Donna L.
Hi, I have my headpiece, my ear in. Can you hear me? Am I too loud? Okay,
It's just right. It works good.
okay. So you've all taken all the words I would have chosen. However, let's see. I'd say feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, the emotional realm, definitely. Very good.
And I'm from upstate New York, and I live in south of Denver.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, welcome, everyone.
All right.
And yeah.
So let's do the bowl, and then we'll do a meditation. Is everybody got a chance to say something, right?
I'm going to step away and be right back. I'm getting my earphone. Just go ahead. Don't wait on me.
Sure. Okay, everybody take a deep breath, and we're going to try to bring ourselves together with a little meditation here.
As we take a deep breath in to our lower belly and exhale out any tension we might have brought with us today. Just pay attention to the breath, the rhythm, the in and out like the tide and the pull of the moon. On the tide, we breathe in and we breathe out. As we feel ourselves relax and let go of worry and come into this group on this blue moon Halloween day, we invite the archetype of the moon in with us in all aspects. And if we could imagine for a moment, if the moon could speak, the tarot card moon could speak, what would it say? Maybe it might say something like, "You asked me to explain myself, but I am far from words, logic, discursive thought, intellect. I am a secret and inexpressible state. I am the beginning where all deep knowledge begins. When you immerse yourself in my silent waters without asking a thing, without trying to define anything, when you stand outside all light." The more you enter me, the greater your attraction to me. There is nothing clear in me. I am bottomless and all nuance. I extend into the realm of shadow. I am a swamp of immeasurable wealth. I contain all totems, prehistoric gods, the treasures of times past and times yet to come. Beyond the subconscious, I am creation itself. I steal away from all definition. So as we imagine the moon being with us today, as we invite the archetype and also have a day, a blue moon day evening that will be here for us. We bring in all the unknown and the mystery to our group and into our hearts. And let's get started.
So, Catherine, I muted you just because of the shuffling of the papers. Got a little loud, but if you can unmute, I think you can unmute.
I have.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So, and this is the card from that deck that I read about. And Catherine, it's Pisces, right?
Yes.
Why does that
Yes.
look like a scorpion down there?
Well, the Pisces is a water sign, and so is Scorpio. Overlaps. The Piscean Ocean, as you were saying, or in your version, is embraces everything. It's everything, and it's mysterious. It's deep. It's many things. So yes, Pisces. The moon is the astrological representative of the water sign Pisces. The two fish traditionally representing Pisces are symbolized here by the Anubis or the jackal god, serving as guardians of the gate or symbols of Piscean commitment to evolution and transformation. And transformation is a Scorpio word.
Right.
So that.
Oh, it would kind of look like a crab because I was thinking the.
Well, it does. Well, and Cancer, same as actually, that's the symbol of Cancer. As you were talking about, you're a Cancer. The moon is associated.
There's a clicking.
It looks much more like a lobster to me.
Probably good to mute if you're not talking because we're hearing a bunch of sounds.
Yeah, there's a bunch of.
I'm not sure who it was.
Yeah,
there's a clicking on the desk. Somebody's moving stuff on the desk. Yeah, try to do if you can remember. Yeah.
So anyway, so the three water signs are Cancer, which is in astrology. The moon and Cancer they're synonyms. And then there's Pisces and there's Scorpio. So it's not surprising to see symbols on cards be reminiscent of those energies. But yeah, the crab, of Cancer. Anyway, I'm going to mute again because I think I'm one of the noisy ones.
Well, I think what it might be, Catherine, is your microphone might be scratching against your oxygen cord.
Yeah, but if I don't wear my ear things, I can't hear you guys very well. So it's just
so maybe just pick up the cord so it doesn't scratch it. That's all I can think is happening.
There's no way around it. I mean, I've got to have, they're both it's just so I'm muting.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, I mean, it's the moon, the mysterious moon. Becky, were you going to say something?
Yeah. I thought that looked much more like a lobster than a crab or a shrimp or anything.
I thought it was a scorpion.
Yeah.
But yeah, at first I thought a crab, and then a lobster, and then I was like Scorpio. But then I was like, Pisces are two fishes, so I don't know. Anyway.
Well, the moon rules Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
The symbol is the crab.
Right.
In astrology.
Right.
So.
And that's
it's
what I
all
thought.
Connected.
That's why I was like, that's super cool. This is my card because this is my card. I always show these two cards. Yeah. This is the inner child, and it's Cinderella, which is my favorite fairy tale from when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they talk in this inner child deck about, how important it is to find the soul, which is the moon, and the mother about the mother, 'cause it's kind of like our Vasilisa story where she loses her mother and has to find her intuition.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And
perhaps.
about going within. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, it's not about the outer physical mother who is the invincible protector for the child, but the healed mother or woman within who emerges once the soul is cleansed and purified. Perhaps a walk in the moonlight will begin this process of emotional and psychic transformation. I think we all need to go out in the moonlight.
Yeah, it's quite a moon.
And Catherine was saying it's going to be seen all over the world tonight. So not only is it a blue moon, meaning second time we've had a full moon in October.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big moon.
So I usually show something, the card that corresponds through the Osho deck, and they call it past lives. But this description is really interesting because we'll get into this later when I do the screen share. It's so much about being in between both and. The hands of existence form the shape of the female genitals, the opening of the cosmic mother. Revealed within are the images, faces from other times. While it might be entertaining to fantasize about famous past lives, it is just a distraction. The real point is to see and understand the karmic patterns of our lives. That comes in with what Christina was saying, and their roots in an endless repetitive cycle that traps us in unconscious behavior. The two rainbow lizards on either side represent knowing and not knowing. They are the guardians of the unconscious, making sure that we are prepared for a vision that might otherwise be shattering. A glimpse into the eternity of our existence is a gift, and understanding the function of karma in our lives is not something that can be grasped at will. This is a wake-up call. The events in your life are trying to show you a pattern as ancient as the journey of your own soul. That's beautiful. And if you can see all the faces in there, it's just an amazing interpretation of the card. Because the more reading I've done about it, it's about how we need to find our way through the underworld and find our way back. But we can get trapped in these ideas of being mesmerized by the unconscious. So there's and it shows up so often in stories and myth, like Orpheus when he goes underground to retrieve his love Eurydice. He's told, don't look back, but of course that's what he does is he looks back and then he's trapped in the underworld forever. So we have to stop our logical mind in order to be able to handle the matters of the unconscious. Donna, go ahead. Donna Remmert.
Yes. And I kind of lost my thought, but maybe it will come back to me. I did Zen Tarot with Kathleen McGarry yesterday, and I
Oh,
pulled past life.
really?
And yeah, and I feel as though that theme is very much alive within me. In between two worlds. Is that what you said, Billie, when you read the card? The both and thing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Right.
kind of like stuck in the middle of something, trying to emerge. And if anyone's got insight on that, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's interesting because yeah, we can well it's like the Persephone myth too. We eat from the underworld, we have to stay there. So we have to make sure that we don't eat while we're down in the depths, in other words, consume what we have to be able to feel it and relate to it without becoming part of it, if that makes any sense. Observing rather than
That makes a lot of, yeah, I think I'm down there, trying to get out of there.
right.
Yeah.
We have a couple of hands up. Christina?
Right. Well, I don't know if it's related to what Don is saying, but as a Catholic Mexican, I was thinking, and I couldn't find an image, but there is a prayer to the Virgin that has her feet on the moon.
Oh,
And what it means for us is that she has conquered, I think, the underworld, and she has conquered the darkness, and so she's triumphant and has her feet on the moon. So for the moon
wow.
is the mystery and the darkness and hidden things, but you can. So to me, it's a little bit like the underworld, and then she has conquered it. That's
Wow. Beautiful.
that's a very, and you also say this prayer. Oh, well, she's not, I looked at her, but she doesn't have her feet necessarily in the moon. I don't know, but there is a prayer that you do on full moon,
Oh,
and so you ask
That is
that
moon.
right. Yeah. So
There's
that's very symbolic to me, that you
Mhm.
can, you ask the Virgin to help you conquer that darkness.
Right. So you want to be able to come. That's very good. Thank you. See, it's all connected. That's what we always find out with these groups. So, Christine Arnott, yeah.
So as so many things have stuck out to me so far from what you all have shared. Hattie talking about during the meditation, the moon being that which is beyond reason or logic. I know, and actually, Christine Ruth, here's your six talking. I know that I get so stuck in logic, in ration, in reason, in that which is tangible, in that which is apparent. And for me, sitting with this group right now, I go straight back to that concept that I said before, the hidden, and that creative part, Christine, that you talked about, that, if as we go into the dream world, as we go into our subconscious, we're able to look at, the good, the bad, the ugly, or that which we shouldn't be judging and should just, again, like you said, visit with and not live in. But I've been working for the last few years to make the subconscious conscious, and to connect with that part of my mind that is beyond logic and reason, and to try and embrace the creative, the creative. And I think that I'm just grateful to be in this meeting right now with you all.
Thank you.
Because I think that this helps that for me, and I hope that some of you also feel that.
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh,
That's definitely why we want to do this. So that means a lot, Christine.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
So, Catherine, I noticed when Christina was mentioning the feet on the moon, I was remembering the description of the Cinderella card and the reference to the shoes in the story. And it says that Pisces rules the feet, or the understanding part of the body. So I don't know if it was related, but when Christina said feet on the moon, and I remembered that. I don't know if you have more, Catherine, for us on that, but
Well, Catherine. Catherine had her electronic hand up, and then Becky after Catherine, because she had her hand up too. So
okay.
go ahead, Catherine.
So two short things. Yes, feet, Pisces feet. So the people who make these cards tune into things that are archetypal and profound and shared. So I'm not surprised that Christine Barcelone is talking about feet on the moon. It makes perfect sense. I wanted to add that the part of the body that the moon is associated with is has to do with nurturing. So it's the stomach. And so it's a lot about what can I stomach, and am I fed enough that I can even think about it? Am I comfortable enough? Am I nurtured enough? The moon has a nurturing potential. It has a great mother nurturing potential. So that's enough for me for now.
Thank you for that. So Becky, you had a comment? Yeah.
Yes, I've got the Aquarian tarot and or tarot, and this is the moon
Ooh.
in that one, and it looks almost like a theater setting,
Uh-huh.
and it makes me think. Watch what's going on with the moon, which is the flip side, the creative, the intuitive, the different, and to observe that as it's important, perhaps. That's where
Right. Very good. Nice.
Pat McNeil. Pat
Hi, Pat.
McNeil. Gotta unmute yourself.
Yep. Gotta click that. Unmute. There you go.
One of the things I've connected to from what people have been saying and I've been reflecting on is that the moon is what we see is the reflection of the sun.
Right.
And somehow or other, that's what we already know because the sun's up there and we kind of know that. And somehow or other is knowing the back, being willing to know the backside of the moon that gives us real a more whole understanding of life or of the other side of the moon,
Right.
of what we don't already think we know.
Yeah. Very good. Pink.
And that
Yeah.
reminded me of Christina Barcelona,
Mhm.
that in our tradition, that I have a Roman Catholic tradition also. Mary is a reflection of the sun, but it's getting to know Mary as a person that is so fundamental. And I guess one of the things I really love is that we landed on the moon, and it seems to be a turning in the tides of women rising up. So that crossed my mind too.
Nice. Wow. Makes me want to listen to Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Very great title.
I am thinking also that what Pat said with the tides of the moon, it really ties up to the feminine and the monthly period
The
where
cycle,
it's
yeah.
tied up to the cycle of the moon too.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all about fertility too. Very good. Yeah. There's a great one of my favorite books, which is here. If any of you, you might have seen me show this before. You can see how tattered it is. I've used it so long. The Introduction to the Tarot. And she does a wonderful thing. The author does a wonderful thing where she puts the Rider Waite next to the Aleister Crowley deck as a comparison. But in this particular book, she goes into quite an extensive explanation of how the moon is related to the metaphors of planting. You know, like we start out with the seed and how it comes into full fruition, and then the harvest. So I mean, she goes into depth about it. So I'm thinking I will probably copy some of this to include with the PDF that I send to all of you afterwards. But yeah, so I love everything that everybody's talking about. It's certainly related, very much related to the feminine, and very much related to the sense of fertility and um,
Billy, who's the author of that book, The Introduction to Tarot?
her name is Susan Levitt. I can barely read it. It's so
Oh,
tattered.
okay. I see
I've
it.
used it on.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's great. It's really well put together, and she does a great comparison between the two tarot decks.
That's
And that,
great.
yeah, that's a lot of things that oh, Catherine, you had something else? Catherine,
I
what's
wanted to add, the cycles of the moon are 28, 29-day cycle. And what is brilliant about that for us as a species is it gives us a chance to cycle through everything at a human comprehension level. Because 28 days, the moon cycles through everything, all the signs, all, it goes through all the phases, and
Right.
it definitely has a connection to the planting cycles of the earth, but it also has a connection to the thing called karma, which is for me not the moon but Saturn, which is a 29-year cycle.
Right.
And
Right.
it's the macro and the micro
Right.
almost. And so that I think that's the other reason why the moon is always associated with the karma sign, because in 28 days you can get a glimpse of what might happen in 29 years.
Ooh, interesting. Wow, I never made that connection before. Very good. Wow, mind blown. I feel like that emoji where the head.
I don't understand. In 28 days, you can know what's going to happen in 29 years. What does that mean?
Well, in the tarot and in astrology, there are echoes that happen. So like the moon is an 18 and it echoes to the 9, the Hermit card. Do you understand? Numerological echo.
Mm-hmm.
So there are echoes astrologically as well, and that means that you can experience in 28 days sort of the mini version of what might unfold in 29 years, because the two cycles echo each other.
So basically, every month that we go through is a pattern of what is going to happen throughout our lives for the next 29 years. Is that what you're saying? Oh my God. I'm going to pay more attention. I'm going to start, keeping some kind of log here.
Well,
That's
what it hints at is that you can tune into something in a more ordinary scale that unfolds in a way that we can't keep track of so easily, which
right.
is years.
Yeah.
So that's really what I'm hinting at. I'm hinting that in the cycle in a month, we can begin to experience what can unfold over years, but in a way that we can digest. Again, I bring in the stomach, a way that we can understand on a more sort of ordinary level.
Yeah.
Which actually anybody who has studied any of the stories about diving down and going down, a lot of it is about paying attention to the moment that you're in and being
Right.
careful.
Right.
So yes, in 1 month, the moon cycles through all 12 signs, and it cycles through our astrological charts. It goes around our chart in a month. Every month it goes around, which begins, if we tune into patterns, begins to tune into the pattern of our larger scale unfolding. And the larger scale unfolding is linked to karma, and therefore the 29-year thing.
Right. Donna Lefferdu, you had something?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that too. And like in astrology, it's called progressions. So like you can determine something at birth and what it would be like what Catherine was saying, it's called a progression. And it's almost like the same as if you have an acorn seed and it contains the whole DNA of the entire tree,
Right.
within it, and how it will be in 30 years or whatever.
Right.
It's similar, and also I found it interesting when Catherine was talking about how the moon's the mother and Saturn's the father.
Yeah.
So mother father thing going on.
Oh, that's right. I see what you're saying because of the Saturn return. Yeah. Wow. So Christine, Arnett, you wanted to share your image of your card?
Yeah. Well, and I would love it, Billie, if you could also pull up that page that has the Crowley card. I noticed as I was looking at my Wild Unknown that it reminded me so much of the Crowley that you shared. and oh, let's see if I can get it. There we go. Just
Uh-huh.
that kind of that dual imagery. The
Yeah.
other thing that I'm reminded of is that this card looks so much to me like the tower in my deck. And as I
Oh,
think about those two cards, I'm wondering if you all see any relationship between the two, and where I'm kind of
hmm
what's kind of coming to mind is as we look at the moon and the lunar cycle as a 28-day microcosmic representation of that macro of 29 years. I
hmm
think of the moon being this cycle that I connect with so deeply in reflecting within myself. And is
hmm
there a tie to to this being a tower year?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a question, a big question. Yeah. The tower, oh, it's so much related to upheaval, and it's related to, but it's also related to destroying and bringing down the paradigms that were not serving us to begin with. So that's what we talked about a lot in the tower, when we did the tower meeting for this many months ago, um, was that when the Twin Towers 9/11 happened, that was not a, in my version, that was not a mistake. That was a waking life version of the tower card, because people were actually jumping off of the to get away from the fire, and the they were jumping out of the tower, which is exactly what the image is. And the fact that it was a dual version of it makes it even more intense, because that's what happens in our dreams. When something really wants to get our attention, it will come in as a twin in the dream. It'll be two cars or two stoves or two guys or two whatever, and they will look very much alike. So the Twin Towers and that whole trauma that we all experience globally together is that, in my version, was a waking life image of the tower card. So how it relates to the moon, I think, is a very different kind of relation, because from what I understand, the moon to the imagery of the moon is more about how I can retrieve the treasures of the underworld and the depths of the in the depths of the unconscious, and bring them back, but follow the rules. Just like we're not supposed to look back. It happens with in the Bible as well. Lot's wife is told, don't look back when they burn Sodom and Gomorrah, blow them up, and she looks back and she turns into a pillar of salt. So there's all these warnings about not trying to be part of the process, to let go of it enough to be able to just, uh, I got to drop the word just, to let go of it in order for it to be healing and transformative, rather than, because we're just so addicted to trying to figure everything out. And that, I think, is one of our biggest
Hmm.
curses, as because the ego takes over. The ego thinks it's going to run the show, but the matters of the unconscious, it's a much more complicated process. That's
Well,
my
yeah, and
take on that.
there's this polarity, right? Of you can let things become so structured that they are traumatic when they fall, or you can go with it and you can ride the wave and see what happens and be more open to whatever life is going to throw at us, because it's going to keep throwing stuff at us.
Oh, definitely. No doubt about that. You're very right.
Well, and I just have to speak to our what's happening right now with our administration and the feminine. And Christine and I were talking a little bit about that yesterday in our Facebook Live. Christine Ruth, we were talking about the fear of the feminine
Yeah.
in the patriarchal culture, and how women have been killed and tortured and for way too long. And, the way it seems we're moving, if we continue with this administration, um, it's the fear of the feminine, which is this unknown, which is trusting something other than the power and control of the patriarch. So, I'm hoping, as Catherine Woods was saying about this incredible moon tonight, maybe it will influence our election. Let's hope. Fingers crossed.
Mm.
That we don't go backwards, I think what we're talking about, what I'm hearing is that, like Billy was saying, don't look back, and also the fear of the feminine being the fear of that unknown mystery, and yet that's where our truth is, and it's been suppressed, oppressed, killed, burnt at the stake, and drowned, and beheaded and tortured for way too long. And I think it's time. Time's up.
Well, that's why the abortion rights continue to be debated and on the table, because once again, it's another way of controlling. If you force a person to have the baby that they don't want, but we're not going to take care of the baby once it's here. So no, we're
Yeah.
not going to feed it and clothe it and send it to school or anything like that. It's like, you're on your own there, but you got to have it. So there's that talk about oppression, that continues. It's hard to believe that we're continuing that debate still in almost 2021.
Mhm.
So I like one question that it was actually Kamala Harris who asked this question to Brett Kavanaugh when he was going to be forced into the Supreme Court, which seems to be the way it's happening now. She asked the question. She said, "Can you name any laws that control a man's body?" And of course he can't. And she goes, no. And she, once again, she's asked the question again, 'cause she used to be a prosecutor. She used to be she was the attorney general for the state of California. So she's tough. And she says, so can you name any law that controls men's bodies? And he's just like, he comes up with nothing. So here we go. Once again, we're going through this round of, again, why do we have to continue to debate this? But here we are. So anyway, Christina, you had a comment?
Well, I was just thinking that in the tarot book of Angeles Arian,
Oh, right.
they
That's a great book.
right. So she called the moon is the principle of choice, authenticity, and beautifulness. So what I'm hoping, right? What I'm
It's a good
hoping
one.
is that will be the result of this full moon, authenticity and beautifulness. Which
Mm,
is totally what we need, what
right.
we don't have in this administration. So, I'm gonna pray to the moon tonight for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right, right.
Hey, let's all do that.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about everyone else, but I'm feeling very emotional about this coming Tuesday, which happens to be Billy Cheryl's birthday, by the way.
It's like I
Oh, oh, Billy.
I planned all this, see, on the in the other world before I came in. It was all planned.
It
So
was it
before
was
we,
it was Candy that did it to you.
Candy Lou, Candy Lou decided.
I can't assume what your birthday wish is, but I have some ideas what your birthday wish might
I told
be.
somebody the other day, I said it's either going to be the best birthday I've ever had or it's going to be the worst birthday I've ever had. But we're not going to find out as quickly as we have in the past. That's the other problem, is that we're going to have to wait and we're going to have to go through a lot of, craziness afterwards. It makes me think about the election in 2000. I went to sleep thinking that Al Gore was president and woke up to George W. Bush as president. I'll never forget that. And I kept thinking, I must have slipped into another timeline. This is like one of those science fiction movies. Like, what happened here? And then all that we went through with all the counting and the chads and the hanging chads and oh God, that craziness that we went through.
It's going to
For
be worse this time.
what's that?
The craziness is going to be even worse than that.
Well,
I
it's
don't know. It was a mess in Florida. That election. That was crazy.
it just went
Well,
on and on and on.
And
Just crazy.
well,
recounting the votes.
Yeah.
if you talk about science fiction, I think this is the worst science fiction movie ever. The scariest of them all right now.
Yeah. Wow.
does anybody else have an image of the moon they want to share before Billy does the PowerPoint?
Yeah. Anything else?
Catherine?
Again, I mean, we're talking about it's the universal symbol of the feminine. It is.
Yeah.
And yet, as long as any part of us, inside or reflected externally, thinks of dominating or controlling that part will continue to be traumatized and troublesome. And what I love about the moon symbol is it's a real call to do an inward reflection. It's an inward kind of thing. And interestingly enough, in a woman's body, those 28 days or so that happen, that is when we're women who are fertile, those 28 days are an invisible journey of fecundity. And until we begin to embrace that, I mean, we still live in a culture where women it is demonized or is problematic physiologically. We also live in a culture where menopausal women on the far side of it are discards, and where menopause itself is some horrible thing. Until we begin to embrace and bring that in and find healthy ways to make those transitions, we are not doing our moon work yet. So the moon card is a call to do the moon work.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very
Thank you for that, Catherine. So I want to share another image before I do the screen share too. This is from the deck of cards that were put together by some friends of mine. Gosh, I've totally gone blank. Irene Klurman and Connie Lehman. And they put this little book together. I mean, it's incredible artwork. Connie Lehman's artwork, and Irene Klurman is the one who wrote the text. But here's an image of, this is the moon, and it was just, we're talking about how much it represents the feminine, and they name it Going Deeper. But I just love this stylized art of Connie Lehman, where she shows just these wild images. I recommend this if anyone wants to you can still get it online, and I can send the link to this later too. But yeah, really well put together. It's a little spiral bound book. So anyway,
Is that, there's not a deck of cards that comes with a book?
yes, there's a whole deck of cards that come with it. It's all it's the major arcana of it's the deck. There's the Fool. See, it's different than what we would imagine. He's got his little dog there.
how sweet.
Yeah. So the idea is that it's, you find your birth year by doing a simple little numerological equation with your birth date and the year you were born, and then you minimize that down to a single digit, or within the 0 to 22. Of course, zero isn't going to come up, but anyway, I came up as the emperor, and so did my husband. He came up as the emperor, and our daughter came up as the empress.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a little hard to get a word in edgewise around here, by the way. Forget it at the dinner table. Nobody can. Everybody's.
You have to do willows.
Oh yeah. Oh.
So Billy, but you put your day, a month, and year of birth, right? And you put them all together.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a formula in the book that explains how you go about that. And then it tells you what your tarot number is for you. And see, they call it the tarot life cards. So it's really, I think it's just unique and very different than a lot of I just love the way Connie's artwork is just kind of out there, she just does all different kinds of things, but great images. Okay, so if nobody else has anything else they want to share, I'll do the screen share now. We can look at some other images.
Hmm. I came out as a 6. You are a 6 too, Christine?
That's for the Enneagram, I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm an Enneagram 6.
Oh, I don't know what I am there.
It's
Okay.
it's a cool and different system that
Yeah, I kind
Uh,
of started learning, but I'm not logical enough
so
for
what?
it.
So remind me, Christine. The six, is it the investigator or?
no. The 6 is the loyalist, or the
Oh,
loyal skeptic.
oh, okay. Because I'm a 2 in the Enneagram, the helper. So
I'm a 9
Ah,
with a strong number 1 wing.
we all have done our Enneagram work lately. Okay, so I'm going to do this quickly here so we can kind of, and I will send the information to all of you afterwards. I do love this book, the hero's journey, the Tarot and the hero's journey. And I think the author, he's just wonderful because he covers so much information. But here's the traditional Rider-Waite version of the card. And one of the things that I read about is that, the dog shows up first of all in the Fool card, and he represents the loyalty and our domesticated instincts, but the wolf is there too, just as, again, in between the two, in between as we said in the other card, the knowing and the not knowing. So the instincts that I know represented by the dog, and then the instincts that are wilder, that are more unpredictable, represented by the wolf. So that's
and
an
there's
image.
2 towers too. There's 2
Yep,
towers.
yep. The towers, exactly, and you'll see when we get later into this chapter when he explains how he shows that, because it shows up on the death card from uh, in a further distance.
Well, and it was cool that you saw the sun behind the moon, that you saw the moon as that reflection. That I forget who it was that was talking about that.
Right, Pat McNeil was talking about that. Exactly. That's the idea of the moon card, is that I'm not actually, see, the contrast is the star card next to the moon. The star representing the conscious, awake, open, brighter part, and then the moon representing that which is hidden. That was another word that came up in the description. So, yeah, so that's perfect. Thanks for that, Christine, because that's what it's all about. Is it's taking that. So here's taking that part of us that we know and seeing the part of us that we don't know. So this is the myth that I referenced before. Orpheus going down to meet with his beloved Eurydice, and he's instructed not to look back, but he does, and then he loses her forever. So then here's another myth from going all the way back to the Sumerians. Gilgamesh, and he's told, given the root of what is it? It's a plant that gives immortality, but he looks away, and when he looks away, the snake eats it. So he doesn't get immortality. So all these things about looking away and not staying in the present moment. That was what we were discussing before. It's like we have to be able to participate in it without actually eating from the underworld, actually becoming part of it. That's, I think, the biggest challenge, is how do I walk through the underworld and retrieve the treasures without becoming mesmerized by it all.
So, Billy, do you think that's maybe this is a stretch or out in left field, but the Adam and Eve story?
Oh, I never thought of that, but yeah, you could be very right. Yeah, I think yes, I think.
Losing paradise by, I don't know.
So if you eat the apple, you become a part of it. Mistake, right?
Right. They didn't stay with the what they needed to stay with.
Right. Well, that's kind of mixed up though in the fruit of all wisdom, which is related to a lot of Celtic myths, where they say, so it's like, kind of like we get into that thing about the original sin and all that, and
Right.
Was the story really supposed to be that I'm supposed to eat the apple so I become wise, but how it can be manipulated and changed in other ways. I want to read this one short thing here from Jung, which is really great. Because he talks about, um, it says right here, it says, this is why Jung also warns that if our psychology is forced to stress the importance of the unconscious, that does not in any way diminish the importance of the conscious mind. It is merely the one-sided overvaluation of the latter that has to be checked by a certain revitalization of values. But this revitalization should not be carried so far that the ego is completely fascinated and overpowered by the archetypal myths. The ego lives in space and time and must adapt itself to their laws if it is to exist at all. So we
That's
don't. What?
relativism, not the other word that you said, but
Revitalization? Don't.
yeah, you
It's
said
Re-
revital. It's relativism,
oh,
relativization, which I'm which I'm guessing I make up means again the literal. We would like in dreamwork. It's like
relativism. Oh, I see what you're
yeah.
saying. Yeah, there's my dyslexia helping again. Thank you. Thank you for that. I know what I'm saying. Um, So it says, and then later it says, the moon card is frequently misunderstood today because we primarily connect the moon with romantic images. But here it means darkness, night, and the deep exploration of inner spaces. So, all right, so here we go with where the tower shows up before too. So, again, we were talking about the little crustacean that's coming out of the water. What is it? And here he talks about the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, and how as the hero's journey moves, as the hero moves through the major arcana cards, he goes from one hemisphere to the other. So that's an image of that connected to each other. But here we go with death, where we see in the distance the towers and the sun, and then when we get closer to it, we see the towers and the moon. So
Mhm.
it's also a warning of that we're going through a threshold, which can often be dangerous. So then there's more. Um, he talks about fairy tales. This is why this is such a great book, because it's so detailed and there's so much to learn in it. He talks about the Parsifal myth and the Fisher King and all that. So we'll go down a little further here. There's another quote I wanted to read from Jung. Okay, so I don't want to give you motion sickness by going too fast, but so there we go. We talked about this before too. Yeah, the star being the conscious, and the moon being the unconscious, and the pathway in between. Oh, and then he talks about in the Odyssey. This is when oh gosh, what Odysseus is told, you have to be protected from the sirens. The sirens will pull you away and pull the boat into the rocks. So he actually ties himself to the mast, asks his crew to tie himself to the mast so he can hear the singing of the sirens, but that it doesn't pull him off course. And then there's another talk about Theseus and the Minotaur, and going into the labyrinth to kill the Minotaur, but he needs Adrian Eric. I'm trying to remember how to say this. Aridi, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Ariadne?
Ariane,
Yes.
that's it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Ariane's thread to bring him back. So he talks about how the feminine and the masculine balance each other, and that Theseus needs what is it again?
Ariadne?
Ariadne, thank you. I always forget how to pronounce these things. But he needs her to pull him back through the thread. So in other words, we can't have one without the other. Everything is balanced.
Can I just kind of make an observation here?
Sure.
That Theseus cannot conquer the Minotaur without Ariadne, without this feminine figure, and Odysseus has to rely on this guidance of Circe, considered by some the mother of witches, um, the first of women who does not rely on the patriarchy,
Right.
to guide him.
That's right. So the feminine comes in exactly again. It's
Wow.
the feminine that
Good.
balances the masculine on the journey to bring them back,
Well, and
to
that
the conscious world.
guides them. That without the feminine, we're lost.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
In a way, the feminine is larger than the masculine. That's worth bearing in mind.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and not only that, what comes to mind is the concept of, we think of Ares as the god of war in Greek tradition, but that Athena is the goddess of strategic war.
Ooh, there you go.
And yeah, it's just this notion that without the feminine, we kind of can get stuck.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes too brutalized. It's like there's a quote from Marion Woodman that she talks about masculinity without femininity can become a killer, and femininity without masculinity can become a devourer.
Mm.
So it's that idea of that if we don't have both to balance, we're not going to be able to um, we don't find the wholeness that we're looking for. That's why we dream so often about the characters that we need to balance ourselves. So I wanted to give this Marie Louise von France, one of my heroes. He gives a quote of hers right here. Every utilitarian approach to the unconscious, or just wanting to make use of it, has destructive effects, just as we are now beginning to realize it has in outer nature. For if we can only exploit our forest, animals, and minerals in the earth, then we disturb the biological balance, and either we or later generations have to pay a very big bill. And that's exactly what we're dealing with now.
Right.
It's happening, right? And it's everything that the scientists warned us of years ago. These relentless,
What
you
does he
know,
say about the never-ending story? I love that movie.
oh, about how it's possible to get lost because the character wants to come back to the real world. He talks about how, um, you can go visit, but you still want to be able to get back. So it's another one of those get back kind of things. So they admits that he's also the bookseller admits that he's also a traveler of Fantasia, and greets Bastian with the memorable words. There are people who can never come to Fantasia, and there are people who can come, but they remain there forever. And then there are still some who go to Fantasia and return again, just like you, and they make both worlds healthy. So
Mm.
that made me think about how challenging it is when I'm facilitating a dream group to stay in the present world of clock time and remember when to wrap it up, because it's so easy to get lost into. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people are just starting out with dream work. They just want to go and go and go and go, and it's like, you got to remember, we got to keep one foot in this world, because otherwise the time just goes. So hours and hours can pass.
Maybe that's why Jeremy always held his watch instead of wore it.
Yeah, I think so, just to remind him of the time. Yeah. So here we go again with the comparison of the cards, and how highest heights of being conscious represented by the hermit and combines with the deepest exploration of the unconscious depths of the moon. So once again, that balance of the masculine and feminine. And then he always closes up every chapter with kind of a little synopsis here. The night, he says, the archetype is the night, daybreak, the task, the tightrope walk, cautiously overcoming the threshold of fear, not getting lost or losing oneself. The goal is return to the light, and the risk is getting lost in the enchanted woods, missing the goal, becoming enslaved by fear. And then feeling in life is irritations and insecurity, nightmares, fears, and yearning. So that we will send to you I will send it to you via PDF after the group. So that's kind of a quick.
Wow.
Wow. It's right. But I highly recommend this book because I tell you, every time I get it, every time we do one of these tarot groups and I have to do a little studying ahead of time, I'm just fascinated at how many different uh, modalities that he touches in on. I mean, he talks about fairy tales, he talks about myths, he talks about myths from all over the world too, not only Greek myths. So anyway, this I I don't
I
want to
think I'm gonna
violate.
ask for Christmas, my Christmas gift.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. It's kind of expensive on Amazon, but there's some other used book sellers I think that still have
And
some
I
copies.
remember the name is kind of a difficult one of the author, right? He has
Oh,
a
how I never I Elizabeth
ha
Hurley Hayo Banza.
Hayo. And
Yeah,
then what's the
he's
second name? Hayo.
Banza.
Yeah,
Banzai. Okay.
Banzat. Banzat.
Billy,
Yes.
you'll put the name of that book on the information you send us later.
It probably comes up right.
Yeah, and it's from like about 1995 or 96, so it's an older book, but I had kind of forgotten I had this until Patty and I were talking about months ago when we talked about putting together the tarot groups. I started looking at my books and I thought, wait a minute, I remember this was a really good book, and it's very well illustrated. I mean, he's got just tons of illustrations in here that help, as you can see with the PDF. So anyway, I don't want to violate his copyright. Please buy the book because I'm always copying his stuff.
I think the moon also coincides with the rising of women into power. I think that might be part of it. A
Yeah.
herald of that.
Yeah. Well, as we were saying, we need both to balance ourselves. We need to look some masculine and feminine energies always. We can't have just one or the other. It's just too one-sided. It's too lopsided. Um, it's just we have to have the balance. And I think there is a fear of the feminine because it's so much more unpredictable and it's so much more um unpredictable and powerful in the sense of being, the ability to create life is terrifying to a lot of the patriarch. It's like, oh, right. That's why this abortion thing has become, it's just like, why are we still negotiating this, after all this time?
Yeah, like in the Burning Times, that docu-series that came out back in the 80s. Pat, we watched that together, didn't we? Yeah. Yeah. And the Inquisition, the word third degree came from the 3 degrees of torture. So the women, and many of them were midwives. Correct me, Pat, if I'm wrong. And they were accused of being witches because they were birthing babies.
Right.
And if they didn't admit that they were witches, they would go to a more harsh torture to the 3rd degree. And then when they did say that they were witches so they wouldn't be tortured, then they were killed. Right? Is that correct? And
Wow.
unmute if Pat, if you want to say something.
And there was a time when science and schools for scientists were beginning to become the in thing, and only men could go to, and it was a way of eliminating the at-home experience.
Mm.
Well, it was the elimination of knowledge and wisdom of women and the placement of us in subservient roles.
And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's gone on too long, and I am so emotional over what's going on right now in our country because I really want to go forward. I
Yeah,
really would
I
like
know.
to go forward.
And I see that Catherine has her hand up, but just one more thing about that, Patty, was I was thinking about that the other day, is that if they were able to force these Supreme Court judges through so fast, imagine if we really got some work done around, in Congress. What if it was really something that meant something, like healthcare?
Uh,
It's like, look how fast they did it. So it's like if they really put their minds to it. So Catherine, you had your electronic hand up. She's
Well, the other thing Christine and I were talking about too is I highly recommend Marianne Williamson has a new podcast, and she interviewed her very first interview was with Carolyn Mace, and they talked about this.
Oh.
And I'm going to say it, and it's really scary, but Carolyn Mace was saying that if we do get another 4 years of this administration, that journalists will be locked up and it will be like Hitler in concentration camps. And it was really scary. And if Biden gets elected, still got a long way to go, but
Yeah.
I'm really concerned because it's all about the suppression of the feminine in my version, and all of what we're talking about and the importance of, being with our feminine right now. And
Right. So Catherine, thank you for
Yes,
being
thank you. Yeah, what I wanted to say was there's a book called Witches, Midwives, and Nurses, A History of Women Healers that goes way back, written by Barbara Ehrenreich. And it's
Wow.
a lot of, I'm 70 this year, and many people who are younger than me are not aware that this book exists, and yet it is a foundational piece of writing about women's history that gives us the larger context of what has been suppressed and lost for so long in
Right.
times of imperialism and patriarchy.
Yeah.
It's hundreds of years. And you're absolutely right about balance, Billie. The issue is when the balance goes so far out in the feminine, where the feminine is unbalanced, the rage of the feminine, which I feel regularly well up inside of me, is so
Right.
enormous
Right.
that it actually, if it were to be given room, it has the potential, as you say, to be devouring.
Right.
So the challenge is to rein in the rage, but still know the history. And
Yeah.
when you get deer blind answers like Brett Kavanaugh gave under the eagle eye of Kamala Harris grilling him, you understand the extent to which the female energy has been and what it is that we're capable has not only been lost, but it is terrifying. Brett Kavanaugh froze in the face of a powerful grilling by a woman of color with an incredible mind. So
Yeah.
you just see, I mean, some of the dilemma that we face is that we have suppressed things for so long, they're very out of balance.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the way I always say it is, someone said once, the feminine is the river and the masculine is the riverbank. So, we do need both. And I do feel like, and on the wasteland is all about the loss of the feminine, the fertility dies and things get, we need the feminine. We need the feminine right now more than anything.
Yeah.
So, and Mary Magdalene, of course, is my hero. Anybody else? This has been so wonderful again to be with you all.
I put the Barbara Ehrenreich book title in the chat.
Oh, great! Because that comes when the recording, does whatever it needs to do to I don't know why I'm having so much trouble talking today. I think I'm just in one of those weird. I'm like, when
Mercury's retrograde, Billie.
What's that?
Mercury and Mars are both retrograde.
Yes, they're both retrograde, and it's a big deal.
that's why I can't speak. Okay,
And
thank you.
Mercury is stationing right now because it's about to go direct on election day.
Really?
So yeah,
Oh,
and
Whoa.
Mars will go direct a few days later. But some very big energies are stationing, which in many ways means we have trouble finding our words and
Yeah.
trouble doing things.
Wow.
Uh, how's
Jeez.
that gonna work with the big picture that is coming up? How's
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Good question.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I'm going to turn 59 on Tuesday, so I'm ending my 50s decade. So,
wow,
so
wow!
it's like, whoops, how did
You're
that
very
happen?
young.
Well,
How
I'm not
can we
feeling so young lately.
celebrate? We need to celebrate this. How can we
Mm.
get together and celebrate?
Uh, well,
Well,
let's see what happens Tuesday, and we'll go forward from there.
We
And I,
didn't want to leave we don't want to leave the house
I think we're getting ready to finish today, and maybe we
yeah.
should sing happy birthday to Billie right now.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
thank you.
So
Okay.
everybody who wants to sing, unmute yourself, sing with us, and don't worry about being off key because we're gonna have a fun birthday song for Billie Cheryl.
Oh,
Ready?
thank you.
All
Christine
right.
Ruth. I see your mute button.
She's just
You
gonna
can
mouth the
sing.
words.
I know you can sing.
I'll sing loud.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Happy
Happy birthday
Birthday
to
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
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 you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday, dear
dear Billy
Billy
Cheryl.
Oh,
Cheryl.
Happy
Happy
Birthday
birthday to
to
you.
you got you
Ay,
got
ay, ay.
you got sound
And
like
many more.
Sorry.
We love
oh,
you, Billy Cheryl.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, we
Thank you.
do.
Thank you for all the
Oh,
gifts you give to us with these wonderful gatherings. And thank you to Patty too. Yeah, it's
Thank you.
great.
Yes. Thank you,
so
Patty and Billy.
thank you for that.
Bye,
Yes,
everybody.
thank you so
So
much.
speaking of, we're not going to be having any more tarot groups for the rest of the year. We're going to take a break for the holidays, and Patty and I'll come back in 2021 with another card, and we'll do more of these gatherings then. But I am still doing dream groups always, lots of Zoom groups. So go to my website, wakeuptoyourdreams.com. Some of the dates have moved around a little because there's no group on Tuesday because it's my birthday and it's election day. But there's also one of the groups has to move because of Thanksgiving. But you can look there and see there's an afternoon group and there's an evening group. And then I'm going to be taking a break for the holidays too. But please check out the website. And oh, and then for those of you who knew Jeremy Taylor, we're planning memorial remembrance Zoom group on the third anniversary of his death, which would be January 3rd, 2021. So please mark that. It's going to be a Sunday, which he was a Unitarian Universalist minister, so that makes sense. So if you want to join us, please do. Share some memories. We're going to put together an electronic scrapbook with some photos and some notes and memories and people's memories of things that he ahas that they got from dreams working with him in person, or anybody who read the books and want to share something special about that too. So keep that on your
This is an
calendar.
online or
Oh yeah,
celebration?
everything's online, still online.
Okay.
It's going to be January 3rd to this January 3rd. So
Should we do it at 3 o'clock, Billy? Since there's so many threes, the
maybe
the third, and 21 is 3. Do it at three
sure.
o'clock.
Yeah, and my daughter is willing to help anyone with any kind of technical stuff. We're going to be putting together this electronic scrapbook, as I mentioned. So if she's going to probably help us by putting together a little tutorial recording, so it helps people to figure out how to upload their pictures and stuff. So anyway, we're just what we Patty and I just want to do something in memory of Jeremy. So please mark that on your calendar. And that's it. So
Okay.
Patty,
There's kind of a lag. I think you said Patty,
Mm.
but it's
yes,
kind of weird.
that's okay.
So yeah, Facebook Live on Friday. Join me. Christine and I did a really fun one last week. You can watch the recording. We talked about sex and religion and shame.
Uh-huh.
Every Friday at 11 Mountain Time. I'm doing that, and I'm moving into a series on grief, grace, and the holidays, and launching my course on transforming grief and fear into love and grace on the 4th anniversary of losing my partner, Lawrence Freedom. So I hope you can join me on Fridays at 11 on my Facebook Live page. And then I just invited Billie to speak to Dreams in January, maybe January 15th. We'll be talking about dreams. But it's
We're
been
already
fun.
planning out your January for you.
I know.
Wow.
I know. It's been really fun having these conversations on Fridays with different people, and so join us if you can. And yeah, thanks
right.
again for joining us, everyone. It's always so
Always a pleasure.
to be with you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Lots
Thank
of
you for
learning
inviting
today.
us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for putting everything together.
All right,
you.
thank you for coming. Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a
Bye.
wonderful birthday, Billie.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for singing the birthday. Happy birthday to me. That was fun.
Y feliz cumpleaños
Feliz
también.
cumpleaños, sí, sí.
And
Thank
in
you.
Italian,
Uh-huh.
it's buon compleanno a te.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Ciao,
Oh,
ciao.
Catherine, you're
Ciao.
we
muted.
couldn't hear you. Catherine, you're muted still, hon.
Have a really happy birthday, Bill.
Oh, thank you.
Geburtstag in German, auf Deutsch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. I got an international happy birthdays. Thank
Well, I
you.
can say it in
Wow.
Swedish too.
Yes, do.
All right.
do.
Bye bye.
All right, everyone. Good night. Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
I'm going to end.